Now it's 9 days to that election, and preparations, by the electoral empire, INEC, and other security agencies are on top gear. And INEC Resident Electoral Commission has refuted claim by some media outlets, I would say mostly online, some speculation that there was a massive resignation by ad hoc staff that will be partaking in that election. And the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has threatened to declare a sit-at-home order for about a week from November 4th if their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, is not released before then. And a similar group, the de facto customary government of Biafra, are saying that that election must hold. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has deployed 2 Deputy Inspector General of Police and 5 Assistant Inspectors General of Police to Anambra to help ensure adequate security for the November 6 governorship election in the southeast state. Now, a statement by the spokesperson of the force headquarters, Abuja, Frank Mba, indicated that 14 commissioners of police, 31 deputy commissioners of police, and 48 assistant commissioners of police have also been deployed to the state for that election. Early reports also put the number of operatives to be deployed in the state at 34,587. Now, in an interview with INEC National Commissioner on Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, he said that INEC are prepared and are going ahead with the November 6th election. And a lot of eyes are on that election, and there's a whole lot of expectation on that election. And for us to get perspectives on the security aspects of the preparations towards that election, we have security expert Jude Nadika in the studio to spotlight some of these issues. Good morning, and it's good to have you join us.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome
I look this way, that way. Okay.
Yeah, just
okay.
Anyone. All right. Now, it looks like the polity is hot already. Ahead of this governorship election. Do we stand a risk, of anything in this coming governorship election?
Well, the threat by IPOB have created fears into the mind of people, particularly the rhetoric. But election is so right civic duty that everybody is entitled to exercise. Is not transferable. So the threat by IPOB is a present threat for people to go out and vote. So the risk is there, and like you alluded in the introduction, like number of police people sent to Anambra State is going to also create atmosphere of fear. I know it was done for security purposes, but it may be counterproductive in a way that people may feel intimidated to go out. That is one leg, and that leg is a threat by IPOB. So there's present risks, but it will not scuttle the election. I imagine the election will go on.
But the ex-AIG is telling federal government that do not take IPOB's threat lightly.
Yes, because if you must be frank to ourselves, IPOB have become a force in the southeast. There's a gap they have filled, and the people feel that they are speaking for them, and that is why they win some recruits in their struggle. So a government that is serious knows the security implication of the activity of IPOB will not be lazy in listening to them, because they represent a force, a void that created by leadership in the East, and this IPOB is feeling it. That is why government should not take a liberal view of their threat.
Okay, now what sort of engagement are we expected to see, ahead of the election? The IPOP, for instance, has, shown invitations by INEC to, have some kind of dialogue, and so has it done for any other party. In fact, I'm not even sure if the Ohanese itself can even, be able to speak to the leadership of, IPOP in that regard. So what sort of engagement, must we have?
Yes, if I reiterate what people have been saying, that there's supposed to dialogue, and if IPOP is shunning it, that's error on their side, because even if in a state of war, at the end you have to come to a round table to settle. So they should give peace a chance. Ohanese is talking, some political leaders are talking, though that is because IPOP is not armed, they cannot engage government in armed struggle, like police that are when they're armed. IPOP is not armed. So the option they have is dialogue, is to talk.
I mean, if you say IPOP is armed, some will disagree. They'll say, some will say, well, I mean, you have the Eastern Security Network that has been,
that is
attacking
that is
government
not
facilities.
IPOP is not
Isn't it a brainchild of IPOP, the Eastern Security?
So we are learned, but I don't think they have the same type of pressure they can exercise with weapons. They don't have that. I imagine they don't have that.
Well, there are fear, from electorates who anticipating to come out, to vote in the Anambra governorship elections. What should the government do, to take away that fear?
The government is doing a lot. That's why they mobilize security agencies there to give people confidence that they can exercise their civil right. So the area, personally, I feel that the number of policemen sent as security agents said is overwhelming. Just like the way they say they should dominate the Anambra. If you dominate, that means creating fear. That's why I say it's counterproductive. IPOP is not armed. Even though you are talking of ECN, but they cannot withstand army or police or civil defense in this thing. So the fear will be mitigated by presence of police. At least presence of police will be a sort of deterrent to the IPOP and the ECN people, and give confidence to electorates to exercise their civic responsibility.
Now, what's the implication of the high level of security presence or deployment in that election on the credibility of the election? A lot of people have expressed skepticism over how this could influenced the outcome of the election and all of that.
Yes, you are very, very right. It should be expected that both the IPOP threat and the government reaction of sending large routine of security personnel to this thing is going to create fear, no doubt about that. There will be voter party or low turnout of voters. Some people may prefer to play safe, to stay at home. Said the police, whether they are protecting you, are not sure. Whether IPOP, because IPOP is enforcing the sit-at-home order. They don't care even they damage property or kill somebody, which is even a big threat. Police, I imagine, cannot be everywhere at every point in time, but these IPOP people are everywhere at every point in time. Discourage people from going out. So what you said is correct. I imagine there will be voters apathy or low turnout. And ultimately it will affect the result, because maybe those who may have voted for another candidate, if they are deprived from going because of what the situation we find ourselves, and the other person get a majority based on protest vote or lethargy of voters. So that is what they are going to get. Yes.
All right. Earlier on, we had an interview with the National Commissioner of INEC on Information and Voter Education, where our reporter filed a report. Let's take a look at that report shortly before we come back.
Okay.
The nation's electoral body is banking on its long-term planning and strategic deployment of human and material resources to deliver a credible exercise. But stakeholders are worried that non-state actors are hijacking the process and instilling fears in the minds of the electorates, which could undermine the process and put a question on the integrity of its outcome.
We have gone too far, and we cannot turn back at this point in time. We have conducted all the trainings that needs to be conducted. We've trained all our electoral officers and assistant electoral officers. We have trained all the supervisory presiding officers, and we have completed the training of presiding officers and assistant presiding officers in relation to this particular election.
Even if you conducted it, how do you legitimize it? A state that have a population of almost 4 million, how could someone with 200 or less than 200,000 votes be a governor in that state and have a control of the states? Automatically there will be a loss of legitimacy, and you can't legitimize it.
As INEC set to deploy 26,000 ad hoc staff to handle the poll in addition to electronic hardwares, security agencies are also consolidating security arrangements to guarantee the success of the election.
As an electoral management body, we are satisfied that we have gone very far in terms of our preparations. Yes, there are legitimate concerns. There are legitimate issues around issue of security. The security agencies are doing their bit to make sure that they guarantee a safe and conducive environment for both our staff and materials to move, and also for the voters to have confidence that they can come out and exercise their democratic franchise.
If you push people into the states, a lot of lives were lost. An election was not conducted. What did you achieve? So you have to weigh two options. One, to say, okay, I'm taking the risks to guarantee people go and conduct elections. And you end up having unavoidable crisis, unavoidable loss of life. Who take responsibility? Government must take responsibility for whatever happens there, because they guarantee to secure everybody.
18 political parties are participating in the election, which is expected to take place in 5,720 polling units of the 21 local government areas of Anambra State. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja. The nation's electoral...
All right, well, there you have it. The Independent National Electoral Commission, appeared very, very prepared and confident that the election will pull through. Now, let's get your expectation, for this coming election in Anambra elections. Or what will be your, call to the people of Anambra State?
Well, my expectation is the voters will come out and vote. Anambra people will exercise their franchise, which is constitutionally granted, and security should be uppermost in the mind of the leaders, because in absence of security, nothing moves. To be full stop completely. And the constitution make security a paramount in governance. That's why you should check the fundamental objective. That's chapter 2 of our constitution. It says security and welfare of the people. That's the essence of government. So they should take serious view of security and give it its preeminent position, because in absence of security, nothing moves.
All right, then. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the program this morning, and for sharing your thoughts with us, ahead of this election in Anambra State. We've been speaking with a security expert, Jude Nadika, and he gives us perspectives on the coming governorship election. Thanks again, and hope to have you again on the program.